billionaire once hired a woman to care for his daughter, but what he uncovered was something he never expected. "Mr. Thompson, Dr. Camilla has refused payment again," the assistant said, handing back the sealed envelope. "She doesn't want money connected to the people who ruined her career." Alexander Thompson, owner of a $12 billion pharmaceutical empire, froze. From the window of his 120th floor penthouse, he watched his 5-year-old daughter Sophie laughing in the garden with her nanny. Camila Santos had joined them only 3 months earlier, after the tragic loss of his wife. She was 32, kind, patient, and somehow able to connect with Sophie in ways no one else could, especially with her unique challenges. What Alexander didn't know was that Camilla knew him far better than he ever realized. "There's more," the assistant added nervously. She pressed play on a tablet. Camilla's voice filled the room, singing, but not any ordinary tune. It was a song in French, weaving in rhythms about brain cells and synapses, transforming science into music Sophie could understand. Startled, Alexander rushed to the garden. There he found Camilla explaining photosynthesis through leaves and butterflies, while Sophie, normally withdrawn even with specialists, laughed and eagerly discussed biology. "How do you know so much about neuroscience?" he asked, cautious. Camilla looked up, calm but with a trace of quiet defiance in her eyes. "Life teaches many things, Mr. Thompson," she said. "Especially when you lose everything you built because of the greed of powerful people." The word struck him like an accusation. He recognized her voice, that determined look. But from where? "Who are you, really?" he pressed. Camilla pulled a faded badge from her pocket. Dr. Camilla Santos, former head of pediatric research, dismissed 2 years ago for refusing to alter safety data on children's treatments. Suddenly, it all came back. The brilliant scientist who once challenged his company's practices. The woman silenced, discredited, and stripped of her reputation for refusing to put profits over children's health. "You!" Alexander whispered, horrified. "Yes," she answered coldly. Now the truth was undeniable. The woman caring for his daughter was the very person his empire had tried to erase, and she wasn't here by chance. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Camilla's eyes followed Sophie, who was finally thriving thanks to real care, not prescriptions designed for profit. For now, just to do my job, giving a child the future she deserves. But while she appeared to be only a nanny, Camilla was quietly collecting proof, evidence of every reckless decision, every harmful shortcut, every child affected. She hadn't simply come for revenge, she had come for justice. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Stories like this remind us, sometimes the people you least expect hold the greatest power to change everything. Alexander felt his legs weaken as the truth sank in. The woman who had lived under his roof for 3 months, the one who knew every corner of his home, every routine, and had earned the complete trust of his daughter, was the very person he had once ordered to be erased from the professional world. "You can't stay here," he tried to insist, struggling to keep control. "You're going to fire me?" Camilla interrupted, her eyes fixed on Sophie, who was laughing nearby. "Go ahead, but be ready to explain to your daughter, who is finally making progress after years of failed treatments, why the only person who understands her must suddenly disappear." The cruelty of the choice struck Alexander like a slap. Sophie had never bonded with anyone like this before. The girl who barely spoke was now talking excitedly about neurons and synapses as if they were characters in her favorite stories. "What do you want?" His voice was softer now, stripped of authority. Camilla pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. Sophie, smiling wide, proudly drawing a diagram of the human brain. "I want her to receive the care she deserves, not the quick-fix formulas your company pushes on children just to fill its pockets." 2 years earlier, Dr. Camilla Santos had been one of the country's leading voices in pediatric neuroscience. Her groundbreaking research showed that therapy and education could transform the lives of children on the spectrum far more effectively than heavy medication. That was when Thompson Pharmaceuticals stepped in with an offer: unlimited funding in exchange for data that would support a new line of pediatric drugs. The proposal looked like opportunity until the trap closed. She was summoned to Dr. Richard's office, Thompson's research director. A folder of altered reports was waiting for her. "We just need a few adjustments," he said coldly. "Your data should reflect that medication is the best treatment." Camilla had stared at those numbers, her stomach turning. But that's not what the results show. The children given only medication actually declined. "The data shows what we need it to show," Richards replied. "Your job is to sign." When she refused, the machine moved in with surgical precision. First came anonymous whispers of misconduct, then claims she had manipulated data, then a staged audit uncovering irregularities. Within 6 months, she lost her license, her lab, her career, her home. The community turned its back on her, too afraid of Thompson's power. Alexander's chest tightened at the memory. He had given the order. "You know what's funny?" Camilla's voice pulled him back. "During those 2 years scrubbing floors and babysitting just to eat, I learned more about the real world than in all my years of research. I learned that people like you think money makes you untouchable." Alexander tried to regain ground. "Look, maybe it went too far. I can talk to people. I can—" "What? Buy me back?" Her laugh was sharp, bitter. "Do you really think that after losing everything, after being humiliated, starved, erased, that I'm here for your money?" She stepped closer, her voice a whisper edged with steel. "You turned me into someone with nothing left to lose. And with that, you gave me time. Time to learn what your company really does to children like Sophie." Alexander's throat went dry. "What are you saying?" "I'm not saying. I'm telling you. Sophie isn't the first child pushed into dangerous treatments your company knew were useless. I've documented 237 others, all prescribed based on falsified data you demanded I sign." His blood ran cold. That's impossible. How could you—" "The same network that helped me get this job as a nanny," Camilla replied, her smile chilling. "You'd be shocked how many doctors and nurses were outraged when they learned the truth about my dismissal. They share information with me willingly because they want justice." At that moment, Sophie bounded over, holding a paper butterfly. "Kama, look! I made the neurons on the wings, just like you showed me." Camilla bent down, hugged her tightly, and whispered, "Beautiful, sweetheart. Why don't you show your father how synaptic transmission works, just like we practiced today?" Camilla suggested. Sophie's eyes lit up. The 5-year-old launched into an explanation, her tiny hands gesturing as she described complex science in child's simple terms. Alexander froze. He wasn't just watching his daughter talk. He was watching proof that she had been thriving without the heavy prescriptions his company's experts had insisted on for years. "Daddy," Sophie said innocently, "did you know when I took those bad medicines my brain felt slow?" Camilla explained why I felt so sad and tired all the time. The words pierced Alexander like a blade. Out of the mouth of a child came the truth. His own daughter had been harmed by the very treatments his empire had pushed. Camilla caught his pale expression. Strange, isn't it? How the truth is easiest to see when explained by a 5-year-old. And yes, every moment of Sophie's progress these past 3 months has been documented. Her drawings, her words, her videos, everything. "You're recording all of this?" Alexander's voice trembled. "Every step," Camilla confirmed. "Every conversation that proves how unnecessary medication slowed her down. And the most painful discovery? That you weren't just another businessman chasing profit. You were a father who unknowingly poisoned his own daughter." The world tilted under Alexander's feet. Not only was this the woman he had destroyed, but now she stood in his home with enough evidence to ruin him his company, and his bond with the only person who truly mattered. What he didn't know was that their entire exchange was being streamed live, straight to a team of lawyers and whistleblowers Camilla had secretly gathered over 2 years. While Alexander thought she was just surviving, she had been preparing a case powerful enough to shake the entire industry. That night, once Sophie was asleep, Alexander locked himself in his office and dialed his private lawyer. "David, I need everything on Camilla Santos, finances, contacts, her past 2 years, all of it." But 3 floors below, Camilla was already in a secure video call. On screen appeared Dr. Martinez, the pediatrician silenced for questioning Thompson's practices, Sarah Chun, the journalist known for exposing corporate scandals, and attorney Michael Roberts, who had spent his career fighting pharmaceutical corruption. "Today's recording is gold," Roberts said, reviewing the audio. "We have him acknowledging falsified data and the harmful prescriptions of his own daughter. That's direct negligence. 237 families confirmed so far," Martinez added grimly. "Children treated with the same falsified science." Sarah adjusted her glasses. "My newsroom is ready to run 5 major reports. We just need one final piece. Proof Alexander personally knew." Camilla's smile was sharp, without warmth. "Don't worry. He'll hand me that proof himself, and he won't even realize it." The next days turned Alexander into a man haunted by suspicion. Yet Camilla continued playing her role flawlessly. Sophie was radiant, laughing, learning, even free from the anxiety that once crippled her. One morning at breakfast, Sophie beamed. "Daddy, can I show you something?" She held up a tablet filled with dozens of videos Camilla had helped her make. Clips of Sophie explaining scientific ideas, each one dated, each one documenting her progress off medication. Alexander nearly choked on his coffee. Those cheerful little recordings were more than memories. They were evidence. "Honey," he said softly, trying to steady his voice, "how about we keep these videos just between us?" "But why, Daddy?" Sophie asked. "Camilla said it's important to share what we learned so other kids can understand too." At that moment, Camilla stepped into the kitchen. "Any problem with Sophie's educational videos?" she asked casually. Alexander forced a smile. "I just think maybe she's too young to be on camera." "I understand," Camilla replied smoothly. "It's natural for a father to want to protect his child's privacy, especially when she's showing such extraordinary progress after certain medical changes." Her words carried weight far beyond their surface. That evening, Alexander finally confronted her. "I know what you're doing. You're filming Sophie, documenting everything. What's your price? How much do you want?" Camilla laughed, not cold, but genuine, almost pitying. "Alexander, you still don't get it. This was never about money. When you destroyed my career, you taught me something. Some things are more important than profit, like the truth." "What truth?" he demanded. "The truth about how many children like Sophie were given unnecessary prescriptions because of the data you forced Richards to alter. The truth about the $400 million your company made off drugs, never proven safe. The truth about how you became Father of the Year by giving your own daughter those same pills." Alexander's face went pale. $400 million? How do you know that? I've had 2 years to rebuild and dig deeper, and you'd be surprised how many people are willing to talk once they learn a scientist was silenced for refusing to compromise child safety. She held up her phone, showing him a text. Confirmed. Thompson personally approved the modified reports at the March 2022 meeting. Minutes attached. Alexander's stomach dropped. "Richards, he's been helping us for months," Camilla explained calmly. "Cancer changes people. He wants to leave this world with a clean conscience." Alexander staggered back. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to make a choice." Her tone sharpened. "Tomorrow you'll get a call from Sarah Chun at Channel 7 News. She'll ask about falsified data and pediatric prescriptions. You can lie, as always, or you can tell the truth. And if I lie, then every piece of evidence goes public. Sophie's videos, Richard's testimony, company files, and the voices of 237 families. Not just to the press, straight to federal investigators and Congress. You're bluffing. Camilla pressed play on her phone. Alexander's own voice filled the room, the recording from his office the night before, arguing with his lawyer about controlling the narrative. The audio was crystal clear. Your security system, Camilla said, almost amused. Fascinating how many weaknesses it had. 2 years as a janitor at a digital security firm taught me plenty. Alexander's world shattered. She had infiltrated everything. His home, his company, his secrets, while everyone thought she was just a nanny. But there's another path, Camilla continued. If you confess, if you lead reform and protect children like Sophie, then the focus will remain on the company, not you. So, Alexander, will you be remembered as the father who finally did the right thing, or as the man who poisoned his own daughter for profit? The question echoed in his head long after she left the room. The next morning at exactly 9 o'clock, his assistant announced, "Sir, Channel 7 News on Line 1. Mr. Thompson," Sarah Chun's voice came through. "We're investigating claims that your company altered research on children's medication. Do you have a comment?" Cold sweat ran down Alexander's temple. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said carefully. "Our company has always followed protocol. We have meeting minutes where you personally approved the altered reports." Sarah's voice cut like a blade. "Along with a confession from Dr. Richards himself. Would you like to hear it?" The recording played. Richard's voice was unmistakable. Alexander said, and I quote, "I don't care about the real data. I need numbers that clear our drugs, or we lose 400 million. I'm not going to die with that guilt on my conscience." Alexander's chest tightened. That's fabricated. You can't. "We also have sworn statements from 237 families," Sarah interrupted, "whose children were prescribed based on those same falsified numbers. And we have videos of one child in particular, your daughter, Sophie, thriving after she stopped your company's treatments." The phone slipped from Alexander's sweaty hand. He stormed into the garden, his voice breaking. You orchestrated this." Sophie flinched at her father's shout and ran behind Camilla. Instinctively, she wrapped her arms around the girl. "Alexander, don't raise your voice near her. She's already endured enough." "My neglect?" he spat. "I'm her father." "And what kind of father knowingly gives his daughter harmful drugs?" Camilla replied, her tone calm but cutting. "Sophie, darling, why don't you go draw something inside? Daddy and I need to talk." Once alone, Alexander grabbed Camilla's arm in fury. "You destroyed my company, my reputation, everything." "Take your hands off me," she said coldly, "or the next call I make will be to the police for assault." He released her, trembling. "The report airs tonight at 8, she continued evenly. 5 consecutive segments. The first, Sophie, and how she blossomed after ending unnecessary treatment. The second, the 237 other children. The third, your personal approval of falsified reports. The fourth, Alexander's throat went dry. The fourth is about your offshore accounts. 15 million hidden from shareholders. He staggered. How did you? And the fifth, she pressed on, is about how you used pediatric research funds to buy your mansion in Miami, the one Sophie doesn't even know exists. You can't prove any of this, he snapped desperately. Camilla pulled out her phone. His own voice filled the air, arguing with his accountant 2 weeks earlier about shifting research money into personal accounts. The audio was flawless. That's impossible, Alexander whispered. My office is secure. Against common equipment, maybe, Camilla said coolly, but not against someone who spent 2 years working in digital security by day, studying electronics at night. Did you really think I just spent those years surviving? Alexander collapsed onto a bench, finally grasping the scale of the storm closing in. What do you want? Money? A stake in the company? I told you, it was never about money. She sat beside him, her voice low and steady. At 8 tonight, 14 million Americans will see you for what you are. At 9, federal agents will serve warrants based on the evidence I've built. At 10, your board will vote you out. And by tomorrow morning, 237 families will file lawsuits, an estimated $2.3 billion in damages. He buried his face in his hands. You want to bankrupt me? No, she said. I want you to feel what it's like to lose everything because you refused to do what was right. The difference is, I lost everything defending children. You'll lose everything because you harmed them. At that moment, his phone buzzed. His lawyer's voice came through in panic. Alexander, you need to come to the office now. Federal agents are here with warrants. The shareholders have called an emergency meeting. It's all over the news. Alexander hung up slowly and looked at Camilla, torn between terror and reluctant awe. How did you coordinate all of this? Her eyes were steady, her voice calm. 2 years of patience, every move calculated, every ally carefully chosen, every piece of evidence collected. And you know what's most ironic? You could have avoided all of this if you had simply given Sophie the care she needed. In the end, Alexander, your greed created the very evidence that destroyed you. Sophie appeared in the doorway, clutching a crayon drawing. Camilla, look, she said proudly. I drew my happy brain without the medicine that made my brain cells sad. Camilla knelt, hugging her gently. Beautiful, sweetheart. Your brain shines brighter every day. Alexander's eyes filled with tears as he looked at his daughter, healthy, curious, and alive in a way he hadn't seen in years. He realized the greatest gift Sophie had ever received wasn't wealth, or schools, or even his protection. It was Camilla, and he had treated her as a threat instead of a blessing. Camilla? His voice broke. What will happen to Sophie through all this? She'll be safe, Camilla replied firmly. I have the legal documentation, and I am fully qualified to care for her needs. The difference between us, Alexander, is simple. I put her well-being above everything else. That night at 8 p.m., Alexander watched his world collapse on national television. Footage of Sophie flourishing without treatment was paired with heartbreaking testimonials from families of other children. Then came his own voice, secretly recorded, admitting everything he thought would remain hidden forever. But that broadcast was just the beginning. Sarah Chun's investigative series became a landmark in journalism, and Camila Santos, once dismissed as a mere nanny, emerged as the woman who had toppled an empire and ignited a revolution in pediatric care. As Alexander sat frozen in front of the screen, one question echoed in his mind. How could a man with so much power be destroyed so completely by someone he thought insignificant? And more painfully, was there still room for redemption, or had his greed sealed his fate forever? 6 months later, Camila Santos was sworn in as director of the newly created National Institute of Pediatric Neuroscience. Her first action, to establish protocols that permanently banned the unnecessary medication of autistic children. Sophie, now 6, became the Institute's child ambassador, creating educational videos for kids around the world. Her remarkable progress became an international case study. Alexander, meanwhile, had lost everything. His company collapsed under $2 billion in damages. His mansion was sold to cover debts, and he himself was sentenced to 12 years for corporate fraud. Camilla visited him once, bringing Sophie's drawings. You knew I was innocent from the beginning, she said quietly. But instead of protecting children, you chose to destroy me. I didn't know Sophie was suffering, Alexander whispered. Camilla's gaze was steady. All parents know when something is wrong with their child. You just ignored it, because profit mattered more. But while Alexander's legacy ended in disgrace, Camilla's story lit a fire across the scientific community. A new generation of researchers vowed never to compromise ethics for corporate gain. Even Dr. Richards, before his death, founded an independent trust to safeguard children's health. In one of Sophie's most watched videos, she beamed at the camera. Camilla taught me that my brain works differently, not worse, and that sometimes kids have to remind adults of what really matters. This story proves one timeless truth: underestimating someone who has lost everything is the greatest mistake of all, because those with nothing left to lose fight with a strength that privilege can never match. Camilla showed that the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's building something so powerful, so good, that it erases the harm they tried to cause. If this story of justice and second chances touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes when life takes everything from us, it's only clearing the way for us to protect what matters most.